Hi, this is Beth from the Burke Fitness Center. Today we are doing a seated yoga class. You will need a chair, and instead of blocks, you could use books. So the first thing we're going to do is take a seat on the chair with a straight back, finding the length of your spine, lifting the head up tall and looking straight ahead. We're going to start with seated Tadasana or seated mountain pose. Our hands are in a prayer. As we inhale, we start to lift our arms up higher to a comfortable height. And then as we exhale, we lower our arms back down. And then we repeat it. Inhaling, 3, 2, and 1. Exhaling, 3, 2, and 1. Inhaling, 3, 2, and 1. And then exhaling, 3, 2, and 1. I want you to be aware of your spine in Tadasana or mountain pose. The next pose we're going to do is called a seated forward bend, also known as Utkatasana. So we're starting in Tadasana mountain pose, inhaling, 3, 2, 1, exhaling, leaning forward, 2, 1, inhale, roll back up into Tadasana, 2, 1, exhaling into Utkatasana, 2, 1, inhaling, 3, 2, 1, exhaling, 3, 2, 1, last cycle, inhaling, 3, 2, 1, exhaling, 3, 2, 1, coming all the way up and putting our hands to the side. Maybe doing a little circling, loosening up the spine in one direction and reversing in the opposite direction. Remembering yoga is about the body and the mind. We want to make sure our body feels comfortable and we're not doing anything that pushes ourselves to pain. Sitting up tall, we're going to do another pose, which is a seated low lunge pose. We do it by making sure our legs are forward, and we take our right leg and we start to walk the right leg back, bringing our toe underneath the chair, sitting up tall, hands once again in the prayer. We're inhaling, 1, 2, 3, exhaling, 3, 2, and 1, and inhaling into a tall spine, exhaling, and keeping our hands in the prayer, we look straight ahead first, and we're going to do a small twist toward our shoulders. So if your hands are in the middle of your chest, you're putting your thumbs toward your left shoulder and looking toward the right side. Then bringing the hands back to center, raising the arms up, looking straight ahead, exhaling, bringing hands down and bringing both legs together. Regrouping and refining our spine. We loosen it up one way, going both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise. And we are going to go into a chair downward facing dog pose. So we're leaning over our thighs to grab either our book or our block. Put the book or block on your lap. Extend the arms forward. Drop the chin and reach forward, dropping the head down toward the upper arms. And breathe about 3 or 4 good long breaths in downward facing dog pose. From our downward facing dog pose, we're going to sit up very tall. We could place the book or the block on top of our thighs. Take our hands out, stretch out the shoulders, and touch the sides of our hips, as if you are sitting on the back of your hands. If you feel comfortable, we can lean back slightly. This is a seated cobra pose. There's a small back extension. And we're inhaling, feeling the rib cage expanding. Then we start to touch the block and go back into our downward facing dog pose, looking downward. Then from here, we lower the block to the floor. We're in Uttanasana, or our forward bend pose. We slowly roll back up into our seated Tadasana pose, raising our arms to a comfortable height as we inhale. Exhaling, hands back to heart center. We're going to do another round of the sun salutation, so we do the other leg. So we inhale, raising our prayer up, looking straight ahead, exhaling into Uttanasana pose, touching our hands this time to the block, inhaling, coming back up into Tadasana, taking the right leg this time and sliding it underneath for our seated lunge pose, bringing our hands back to a prayer, sitting up taller, inhaling, raising our arms to a comfortable height, letting them separate, wiggling our fingers, exhaling, hands back to the prayer, to your heart, and maybe doing a twist toward the left shoulder, looking over the right shoulder, coming back to center, bringing our arms back up again, looking straight ahead, exhaling, hands back to the heart, feet together, reaching forward, reaching for that block, going back into our downward facing dog pose, reaching it. Long dog, looking down, breathing in and out. 2 more big breaths. Feeling the chest rise and fall on the belly and the chest pressing in to the thighs. Returning our block back to our lap. Taking our hands out, stretching them, opening the fingers, wiggling the fingers. Taking our hands toward our sides, maybe on the lower part of the back, sitting up taller, going into a little bit of a cobra back extension, looking straight ahead as we inhale and feel our rib cage expanding and opening. And then we exhale, take our block or book and reach and go back into our downward facing dog pose. And return the block to the or book to the floor and roll back up into Tadasana pose. Hands back to heart center. We have finished the sun salutation part. It's a good idea to shake or move the muscles about to loosen up the body. And we are going to go into a chair pose. You have a choice for chair pose. I like to use a block. You could take a book between the thighs, squeeze the block, taking our hands to the sides of the chair, making sure our back is tall, the spine is lengthened, and we could stay here, or we could try to maybe hover over the chair, looking straight ahead for chair pose. And now let's slowly sit down if we have been standing. Take the block out and shake out the legs by extending them out. We're going to do a variation on chair pose with a twist, bringing our hands back to heart center. We're going to take our thumbs toward our right shoulder and look toward our left shoulder. We could also lean forward and touch the elbow to the thigh. And we could stay here in this twist, or we could use our muscles in our thighs and gluteus to come up and hover over the chair. and making sure we breathe. We're going to slowly sit back down. You could even do what I just did to guide yourself down if you need to. Shake out the legs. Remember to listen to the body and not do anything that causes pain in the joints. Let's try the twist on the other side. We sit up tall. We bring our thumbs toward our left shoulders. We lean forward. We squeeze the muscles in our gluteus. We could stay here and turn the neck and look over our shoulder, or we could come up and hover over the chair for the twist. Slowly come back down. You could again use your hands to guide you down and shake out the legs. We're going to do a chair warrior 2 pose next. We slide forward into the chair, and we're going to start with the right side first. Move yourself slightly to the right side of your chair and open up the right hip by stepping it out and in a few times to loosen up the hip joint. After you've done about 3 or 4, keep your leg there if it's comfortable. Send your right arm out so it's as much in line with your right leg as possible, and look toward your right fingers, making sure your fingers are close together and you could see your index finger and your middle finger. Taking your left hand on the side of the chair, and now flip your right hand over so you could see your palm. From here, we're going to do an arm extension. So we're going to reach a little bit toward the right side, and then if we can, we take our hand, we touch our head and look inside the crease of our right elbow. If this doesn't feel good to your right arm, you could take your hand on your hip instead. Either way, you're getting a stretch in your right side. Let's slowly straighten out the back, bring the hand back to the side of the chair, and walk the right leg in. Move it around, shake it out if it's tight, and let's repeat on the left side. Move over to the left side of the chair. Open up the left hip by walking the left leg out and in several times, keeping the leg out, taking your left arm parallel to your left leg, taking your right arm on the side of your right hip, turning your left palm over, maybe reaching it, looking into the palm, and then leaning to the right side, looking up toward the left inner crease of your left elbow. And again, adjust your arm. You could put it on your hip or keep it here or lengthen it out. Inhaling, opening up those ribs. Exhaling, coming back to center. Walking the legs in and shaking them out. We are next going to do a seated butterfly stretch, sitting in the middle of our chair. We already opened our hips with the last pose, so they should feel a little looser. Toes are out, and lean forward into butterfly pose. While we're in our butterfly pose, we could even do a shoulder releasing stretch by loosening up our shoulder. Coming up from butterfly pose, and from here we could do a more strenuous pose called garland pose. So we have our feet out, we place our hands on our thighs, and we squeeze the gluteal muscles. If you'd like more sensation, you could try a harder version of this pose, garland pose, by coming up off your chair, putting the hands in a prayer or keeping them lightly on the thighs. Once again, you can use your hands to help guide you back down, and then step the legs in. Shake them out. And now we're going to do a pose called seated staff pose or stick pose. Slide your right leg out onto the floor. You could even use your book to prop your leg up on the book and slide it out. The knee has a little slight bend to it. The back is not going to round, it's just going to be straight, and we're just leaning over the top of the thigh. We're looking straight ahead. And we should feel a very beautiful stretch in the back of our right upper thigh. Slowly roll back up. Bring the leg back in. Take your left leg on the book or block and slide it out. Toe is up. Sit up tall. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, leaning forward with a flat, not rounded back. Feeling a stretch in the left upper thigh. Slowly coming back up again. We are now going to do a seated twist pose. We're walking both knees toward the left corner of the chair and taking our hands on our lap, sitting up tall, looking straight ahead. We're going to find the right side of the chair by our thigh, sit up tall, and slowly start to turn the head in opposition to the legs. And look over that shoulder. Turn the head slowly back to center. And let's bring our legs back to center and walk the legs to the other corner of the chair. Sit up tall. Bring the arms to the opposite side of the legs. Look straight ahead first, and then slowly turn the head in opposition to the legs, looking over the opposite shoulder. And slowly turn the head back to center. Walk the legs in to the center. Let's make that little circle for our spine again, once again. One way and the opposite way. We are almost at the meditation part of the yoga class. But before we do, I want everybody to think about a position that makes them feel relaxed. A good relaxation position for you might be to lean all the way back into the chair to find the support of the chair. If you're not comfortable, you could use an extra layer like a sweater or a blanket if you have one handy. Bring your hands on your thighs and just lean forward. You could even take your hands and make a little pillow to rest your head on. And let's come back in. Now we are going to finish this video with some breathing techniques. This is 3-part belly breathing. Start sitting with a tall spine. Inhaling, feeling the belly expanding as you inhale. Exhale. Again, inhaling, slower. Exhale. Inhale again. Exhale. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhale. And exhaling. Take a few normal breaths, realigning your spine, relaxing the muscles in your body, and feeling the mind and body connection with the breath and the yoga poses we practice together. Namaste. Have a wonderful and peaceful day. Thank you for your practice.